Got called ungrateful for not wanting to work overtime for free. I just cried in the bathroom at my crap job. To the people saying, take any job, at least it's a job. To sum this video up in a comment, it's be trapped in a miserable job you hate which works you to death from stress, or struggle to survive unemployed for so many people nowadays. Okay, so George Carlin once said, the upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all the taxes,
does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class.
He's an American comedian and social critic, by the way.
Keep them showing up at those jobs.
But we're not social critics like him about to tackle systemic class issues. We just want to talk about the last 2/3 of his quote. Something probably a lot of us may have thought about at some point. Basically, how much hardship will we tolerate at our jobs before we'd rather quit and risk financial insecurity? It's almost a toxic job versus homelessness dilemma. Almost, because that's never really a dilemma, right? Hardly anyone's going to choose homelessness over working a toxic job. But don't worry about the extremes. There are more than enough people in between for us to possibly reflect on our own lives. Something like be less harsh, judging each other, maybe. I'm Phil. I'm Pierce. I'm Todd. And everything not saved will be lost. Safe to say, here are some things about career and money that aren't lost. Anyone remember when this went viral?
This is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person. I get on the train at 7:30 and I don't get home till like 6:15 earliest, and then like I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either.
Yeah, cooking's pretty troublesome. She's pretty on point. Now that was back around October 2023, and Twitter responded with the bootstrapping high horse takes. Well, we're here with plenty more where that came from. Got called ungrateful for not wanting to work overtime for free. I, 20F, just started my first full-time job a few months ago, and I've really been trying hard to make a good impression. I show up on time, finish my task early, and even pick up extra shifts when someone calls out. But last week, my manager asked if I could stay late to help clean up after a big project. I said sure, thinking I'd get paid for it. Well, turns out the extra time was off the clock because the store was over budget on hours. When I asked about it, my manager got annoyed and said I should want to help the team and that this job is about more than just a paycheck. I was stunned. I work hard because I want to build a future for myself, not because I'm doing this job for fun. Why would anyone stay late and work for free when we're barely making enough to get by? We'll deal with this later. When I said I couldn't stay late if I wasn't being paid, they called me ungrateful and said I wasn't a team player. Now I'm worried they're going to cut my hours or make my life harder at work, all because I set a boundary about not working for free. Okay, as normal people, we wouldn't know better about labor laws, but maybe she has a case against them. Maybe. I don't know. Why is it that so many jobs expect us to sacrifice our time and energy for nothing in return? They say it's about team spirit, but really it's just another way to take advantage of people. I'm so tired of this mindset. Okay, now there's something I can talk about, what she said. This mindset of really milking as much labor out of people as possible and calling it performance-oriented or results-driven, or in this case, work family or team spirit. Sure, it's human nature to be optimized or cheap, whatever you want to call it, to want to get value for money, really stretch the mileage of every dollar. But how far before it's just exploitative and ungrateful? How scarce is the scarcity mindset? We haven't come up with a universal line yet, so it's a genuine question. Where should we draw the line when it comes to really milking it? People's lives might be a good place to not do that, but we don't know better. Maybe the world is just that competitive now. I just cried in the bathroom at my crap job. I was waiting on a final result for an interview. I thought I was really going to be able to quit this job. I look at my phone and there's the email I had been waiting for. After I read this line, unfortunately at this stage, we're gonna hold off bringing on anyone new. When that changes, I'll reach out to you to pick this up. I couldn't hold it together and I just needed space to start crying. I thought it was finally my turn. I thought I was finally going to get to quit and flip this job off on my way out. Still stuck here. Still stuck in this hellscape that doesn't pay me nearly enough. Alright, now we have a taste of what overwork could refer to. Having to give pretty much all our time and energy to work. Sometimes overemployment. That's OP1. Being anxious about performance, deadlines, and similarly stressful conditions. Dealing with demotivating superiors, co-workers, clients, customers, people. That might be OP2. If none of those categories apply to you, definitely feel free to add your own experience and troubles and problems to what overwork could be. Stuck in this hellscape that doesn't pay me nearly enough. Not even enough for rent. We'll get back to this later again. Given what we're working with, it becomes a little more understandable why some of us might think, I don't get how this is supposed to be a life worth living. So you're telling me that I have to work for 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, and 2 days off. Cool, let's break it down. Wake up 6:15 a.m, get ready for work, clothes, shower, coffee, leave by 6:45, commute for 30 to 40 minutes, start work at 7:30, have lunch at 12:30, leave work at 4:30, come home at 5:10, switch clothes, cook, eat, shave, chores, errands, appointments, work out, have around 2 hours for yourself per day and have to catch up on weekends and be too tired to do anything else just to repeat on Monday again. How do people even have children, hobbies, free time, personal life, do nothing time? Now doesn't this sound familiar?
I literally get off, it's pitch black. Like, I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like, how do you have time to, like, meet, like, a guy? I don't know. Like, how do you have time for, like, dating? Like, I don't have time for anything.
I might as well indulge in the most enjoyable, unhealthy stuff ever and just live till age 40. Why would I do this to myself if there is nothing to live for? Compared to this OP, this girl is honestly a lot less angry and disillusioned. She's actually trying to be grateful.
I know I'm probably just being so dramatic and annoying. Nothing to do with my job at all, but just like the 9 to 5 schedule in general.
Being dramatic, no issue with the job itself. Really going out of her way to emphasize it's the lifestyle that's taking a toll on her. Either way, when they describe their weekly schedule, it's hard to tell off the bat how overworked they are in terms of stress or burnout at their jobs. But clearly, it's how their lives are bent around their job. They're bleeding over of work into life. That's the issue. This lifestyle of stable employment that doesn't allow for enough time or energy for the 8 other things outside of working for money.
I don't have energy to work out, like that's out the window, like.
Can be counted as overwork. This same OP3 actually made another post a month after. Somehow the majority of the population has been brainwashed that living like this is normal. Okay, title's very charged, take it with a pinch of salt. Supposed to work the majority of the day, measly monthly salary, barely covers your expenses. Same bleak stuff, but sometimes supposed to can just be a suggestion. 5 to 6 hours of free time per day if you're lucky, with 0 commitments, but realistically it's more like 2 hours per day, leaving Saturday to recuperate from exhaustion and Sunday to not do anything since you're dreading Monday. I'm currently 20 years old. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, we have a pattern here of 20-year-olds making this type of anti-work remarks. Now at this point, it's way too easy to say, of course, this kid who has no life experience or any real responsibilities doesn't want to work. This generation is spoiled and lazy and weak and yada yada yada. Okay, I'm sure there's a proper analysis to be made about who's entitled versus who's exploitative. They're possibly the same people, just in different positions of power. But on this particular complaint, I'm with the 20-year-olds. Too much of life is currently about working for money. Wow, shocker, Phil. Okay, you're right. Enough with the exhausted young people. Let's see the views of proper working adults with responsibilities with this next one. Stop telling people laid off or jobless that they dodged a bullet. It's actually the comment section of this post that made me want to do this video in the first place. To sum this post up, basically don't try to console unemployed people getting rejected from hundreds of job applications with "you dodged a bullet." It's like saying, I know you don't have a job and income, I know you have bills coming, I know you're about to be evicted, I know you're running out of your savings and have a family, but consider yourself lucky because you dodged a bullet. It doesn't make them feel better. Honestly, adults with responsibilities are a very anxious group. It may have been for the best for you if you weren't in a situation in which you and your family were less than a month away from having to live in your car. At this point, I take all that you've listed over impending homelessness. All the comments I chose are from this demographic. Like I said, overworked or unemployed, toxic job versus homelessness. It's hardly ever a debate with anyone, but it's definitely not a debate at all for adults with responsibilities. Most people would rather work somewhere toxic for a little while to be in a position to pay their bills while they continue their search than only wait for the perfect opportunity. Currently working for the worst boss I've ever had, but guess what? It pays the bills, and the bills don't care about my feelings. I'm interviewing like crazy and hoping to make a jump soon. You don't get it. Who cares how bad it is as long as we and our families don't wind up homeless? This is not a difficult concept to grasp. Even if it sucks, it means I can feed and house myself and my children, that we won't have to go to a shelter or lose our beloved family pet. I could keep searching for work as an employed worker rather than an anxious, days away from a heart attack mess of a person. They'll clearly put up with a lot more than 20-year-olds. The 20-year-olds who were already wondering how to afford a life beyond survival. This is how. This is the life. No wonder the younger generation isn't exactly sold on the spiel of work hard for a better life. People who are not in your shoes shouldn't suggest not taking a job even if it is toxic. Better to be paid and miserable than broke and miserable. I mean, come on, I think young people are looking forward to a little more than miserable. You can always leave for another job while being employed than have no alternatives. Okay, now we've got the conventional wisdom of tolerating temporary toxicity, which is kind of funny because are the people who say nobody's loyal anymore peers of these people who are encouraging job hopping? Same age group, just different positions of power? Or are those complainers even older? Anyway, we maintain our stance of not discriminating by age. It's probably something else corrupting here. Get paid while you look for another job and interview at other places. Again, this isn't for everyone. If you have the savings and the means to say, nah, I'm out, then by all means. But for someone who has been unemployed for a while and needs something more urgently, the job might be appealing. You go in knowing this is temporary and you're not staying. Hop, 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 just hop. Yeah, move on up. If there's something, don't feel bad. A bad job is better than homelessness. Many of us aren't far off from not making rent. I understand that sometimes you need to do whatever is necessary to get over a hurdle, but it's also easy to take a step backwards without realizing it, thinking that any direction is a good direction. Okay, first comment against the common sentiment here to put up with anything to hold on to a job. Should I turn down this offer because they were rude or lowballed me? Think long and hard about turning it down for petty reasons. We're all bitter and exhausted, but unfortunately no one's coming to save us. Not your friends, not your family, not your network. Ask me how I know. Eat that frog and at least be happy there's a boot that wants you to lick it and pay for it, even if it's pennies. And we're back to putting up with anything. This comment said it right. When you're desperate for a paycheck, being exploited takes a backseat to just getting by. And exploiters love the desperate. It makes normal candidates seem entitled by comparison. Unemployment is like going from the frying pan into the fire. Assuming we have no resources to leverage to go get something better, that's totally fair. There are worse things than not having a job. Oh, okay. With how the comment section has been so far, this is actually based. Worse things, like working for a month before discovering you're not getting paid, or falling for a scam, or working for someone that will make you wanna... This one's subjective. Dodging a bullet seems like the right analogy in those sorts of scenarios. Not being able to get a job and being in a situation where I can't guarantee that I can pay my rent next month has that more than covered, to be honest. Okay, this last reply missed the point. Of course, not finding work and not getting paid is bad, and sadly more common than it should be. But objectively, working only to discover that you're not getting paid is worse. It's definitely less common because it shouldn't even be a thing. Look, we agree that there really aren't that many things worse than not having a job. But this would be one of the few things that are. Speaking of which, it's time to revisit that whole issue, working but not getting paid, or not getting paid enough, barely making enough to get by, not even enough for rent. To the people saying, take any job, at least it's a job. Let's say you're a mid-level professional, you lose your job, you're single and don't have kids. You rent a one-bedroom apartment. Oh, okay, well, immediately removes all the previous posts, adults with responsibilities from the conversation. Your rent is $1,500. That's an underestimate. Let's make it $1,600. You'll get why later. Car note $500, monthly utilities $250 total, monthly groceries $200 at the bare minimum, calories, beans, rice, cereal, ramen, phone $75, small car and gas $100, toiletries, personal care another $100. $50 for internet. That's a total of $2,875 monthly in living expenses. You get a full-time job at McDonald's for $12 an hour. Is that an overestimate? $1,920 before taxes, assuming no state income tax, another underestimate. $1,690 after just federal taxes. After Medicare and Social Security, you're left with $1,545. Honestly, not even going to get into the health insurance part because you're already under $1,600. Can't even make rent. All you've done is wasted your time. You're still going under, you're still getting evicted, you're still going to lose everything. And you get the privilege of working 40 hours a week at an exhausting, disgusting job. $1,920 for 4 weeks in a month, the math checks out. Now consider I undershot almost everything except maybe someone's car note. Rent or mortgage in most places is much higher. Maybe factor in a kid and daycare. Nah, it's over already, bro. Alright, so this OP has really captured the spirit of working but not paid enough, like not even enough for rent. I wonder if anyone will say that it's better to make even just a little than zero because it slows down the inevitable. I don't know, basically that would be working but almost homeless. Damn, how bad would that be, working but homeless? The wildest part about being in the homeless shelter was seeing all the people who also lived there but worked every day. One guy was a manager at Family Dollar. Okay, let's slow down for a second. What could be worse than being homeless? Being homeless and still having to go to work? But hey, maybe it's not worse because these people are exercising the full extent of their agency and have the fighting chance to pull themselves out of their situation. What chance is that actually? I don't know. And pull themselves out to where? I don't know, the frying pan? Landlord requires 3 times the rent to lease. Average rent is $1,600. Yeah, this is why we changed the rental in the previous post. $4,800 upfront, minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. But hey, other OP says $12 an hour at McDonald's. Doesn't include security deposit, application fees. Now guys, being oppressed isn't a competition. But if it was, these guys would be winning or losing. It's like starting from the bottom of the rat race again. And what's the lesson here? That humanity has lost the plot and society is... Yes, okay, fair point, that's one. But two, maybe there is room to actually debate that unemployment could be better than being overworked. Only if we don't have responsibilities to others, sure. Definitely only in that case. Maybe the hikikomoris, the youth of the lie flat ideology, and the ex-employees of the Great Resignation were onto something back in 2021. I'm just kidding, we don't know better. Maybe it's still not a debate. Regardless, all the best to achieving the freedom you deserve. Live well. Here at LTAP, we make content about what it means to live well as a kind of answer to everything. There could be billions of different interpretations to this, since ultimately everybody gets to decide for themselves individually. But if you're interested in our suggestions, you could stick around with us. We have a lot to answer for a friend.